Well, I have my bike all set up, all packed up, ready to go out to the Hoka Hey, leaving first thing tomorrow morning. And then this showed up on the doorstep. Look what I found just laying out here in the porch. This here is the Black Dog Ultimate skid plate, and I absolutely hate the stock skid plate that's on it. So I've completely unpacked my motorcycle, and guess I'm doing what any reasonable man would do, and I'm going to tear my bike apart the day before I leave on what's probably going to be around a 14,000 mile trip. I mean, what could possibly go wrong, right? This is certainly a pretty impressive skid plate from the looks of it. I held out for the Black Dog one. They have such a stellar reputation among the BMW GS crowd that I figured it'd be worth it to hold off for it, and hope I was right. First thing I need to do though is actually read the instructions this time. This might be a little bit complicated. Okay, before I get started, that thing there is what I'm replacing. Just a piece of aluminum. It's bolted straight to the engine case. I've never been a big fan of that. Provides absolutely no protection for the regulator whatsoever. Any rock you pick up here, gravel, stuff like that, it's going to go right into it. I really don't like that design, and this new plate is going to cover it and fix it. Here's the two plates side by side. That's the factory plate. If you take a look in here, that's where the factory plate bolts directly to the engine case. That means any smack that thing takes is delivered directly to the engine case. Eventually the engine case is going to wind up cracking. Once that happens, you're in a whole lot of trouble, especially if you're out in some remote area. This here is the Black Dog. This thing's a proper skid plate. It's intended for sliding across stuff. Take a look at the underside. It's smooth all the way across, so if you high center on a rock, high center on a log, you can just slide directly over top of it. That's the way they've always made all their plates. One additional thing you'll see with it is this bracket right here. Black Dog has always believed that a skid plate should never ever be bolted directly to the engine. They want a separation between the engine and whatever's hitting it. That's why theirs took a little bit longer to get to market. They got one little separator block right here. It's a really hard rubber. That doesn't actually provide any support. What it's for is if that plate gets smacked and driven up, that'll kind of slow the impact into the engine case. But the engine is a good half-inch away from it. Plate removed, you can see these bolts right here. That's where it bolts directly to the engine case. That's not unique to the Pan America. There's a lot of the unit frame bikes that do that. They use the engine as a stress member. That's why Black Dog has always come up with their own brackets to mount their own one. Makes theirs a bit heavier and a bit more expensive, but that's a trade-off I'm willing to make. Now when I say this is not going to be mounted to the engine, what I mean is it's going to be mounted to the subframe. And when I say it's going to be a bit complicated to install it, what I mean is it's going to be sandwiched in here, which means I'm going to have to completely remove the center stand and then reinstall it. First thing you got to do is pull the springs off. They give you pretty good instructions, step by step, complete with torque values and whatnot. And they make a point of saying it's easier to pull the springs off one at a time. Well, they're right. It is absolutely easier to pull them off one at a time. And it's also easier if you use an actual spring puller to do it. They say you can use a zip ties that they provide in a screwdriver, but I'd rather not. Now when I pulled it off, I did notice one little bit of weirdness in my bike. The instructions say use a 6mm hex to pull out the bolts. On the right side they were right, but on the left side of my bike they were installed with torque bits. Kind of strange. Not quite sure how that happened. Okay, now the brace is installed, I can go ahead and put the center stand back up and get them springs on. Getting them springs on is going to be a major pain. I'm not going to bother filming it because I'm going to be saying a lot of stuff that probably ain't too terribly YouTube friendly. I'll be back when I got them in, hopefully not bleeding too much. The springs are finally back on. By the way, whoever it was in the forum that was complaining about the wimpy little springs they use, completely snapped the tip off of my spring puller. I think they're strong enough. And that's it, all installed. Looks like it belongs there, don't it? They provide you with 4 countersunk bolts to use. They even provide you with the blue Loctite to put them in. Use the blue Loctite. Don't put red Loctite on it. If you do, the techs will hate you. On the bottom you can see it's one long smooth surface. Absolutely nothing to get hung up on rocks or anything. Whether you're rolling over a log or you get hung up on something and you got to drag it across, there's nothing along here that makes it worse. One quick note here for the techs. Actually makes your life a little bit easier. You only got 4 bolts to pull off now instead of 6. Got access to the whole thing. And these back bolts, get a little bit too heavy-handed and strip them. All you're doing is replacing a captive nut. It's not like them 4 bolts that you used to have in there. If you strip one of those out, you're stuck tapping and drilling and sticking a helicoil in the actual engine cases themselves. That is never a good thing. Life's a little bit better for you with this. That's all for now. Time for me to load this beast back up again, put everything back on it, and get ready to leave tomorrow. Be safe out there. Catch y'all later. Like, subscribe, and share to the channel. I still haven't got anywhere near the 1,000 people I need to open up the comments and photos section. But keep your eye on my channel. When I get a chance, and when things go live, I'm going to throw the tracking link down there so that you can watch live while we're running around the country for a couple of weeks. That's it for now. Take care and be safe out there.